It's time for a deep dive on University of Portland basketball. The inside story on the Pilots. This is Portland Pilots basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau. Tonight's show is brought to you on 910 ESPN Portland by employee-owned Bi-Mart, by your local Les Schwab Tire Center, the Oregon College Savings Plan, by Buffalo Wild Wings, U.S. Bank, by Safeway, and by Play Smart Health Screenings from Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. Now, here's your host, Jason Breaux.
Good evening, back here at the Pilot House on the University of Portland campus. We've got Coach Reveneau and a special guest lined up with us for this edition of the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland. A reminder, fans, if you're tuning in, you can submit a question online. Visit portlandpilots.com/AskCoachRev or use Twitter hashtag AskCoachRev to send us any questions throughout the week or during the show. You can also give us a call at 503-542-0910. And Coach, as we look back, a home split this last weekend, down to the wire against Idaho State, a tough loss in the closing seconds, but then a good bounce back against a good Sac State team on Saturday that had wins over Arizona State, UC Davis, and some other WCC opponents. Just kind of give us a recap of the week from your perspective.
It was the end of a tough stretch, 8 games in 19 days or whatever it was, and I think it showed on Tuesday. It was a disappointing performance by us, Idaho State. It was really a bad half of basketball by both teams, to be honest, in the first half, and it was a sort of ugly basketball, and we didn't play very well, and we just sort of let them hang around, and they got some confidence going. In the second half, they got hot, made some shots, and looking back on some of them, they were well covered, some they weren't. We got some good shots, didn't make them fall, and we've had trouble at times before, we didn't get to the free throw line to make up for the shots we weren't making, and we didn't and when we got to the line, we didn't shoot great. It was a struggle of a game for us, and we were changing lineups and trying to find some energy and some things, and it just never really clicked. And so it was really nice that game was on Tuesday, and we were able to come back Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in practice. Wednesday was really short, watched some film, put the game behind us, but Thursday and Friday had some really good practices and prepared for a very good Sacramento State team. And it was a very good half. Jason Todd broke his nose during the day, unfortunately, and he was out for the game, and the guys stepped up, and we were able to compete pretty well against a good Sacramento State team.
Yeah, Sac State, who opened with a win at Arizona State, who's turned out to be a pretty good team, as we mentioned. And one of the consistent performers in very different stat lines from Tuesday to Saturday, Bryce Presley, 16 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 0 turnovers on Tuesday, was very consistent. On Saturday, if you just looked at the box score, Bryce, numbers didn't blow you away, just 7 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, but it seemed like he was really a steadying force out there in the game and crucial in terms of getting that win against a tough opponent.
Oh, he really was. I had a couple coaches in the audience that after the game just comment to me afterwards how huge Bryce was, and I said, no, he was great, and so there he is right there, Bryce Presley.
That was just, I randomly just brought his name up.
We only talk about the players when they walk by here in the Pilot House, so he's now going to go get me my snack for talking so well about him.
No, but it seemed like especially Sacramento State was kind of junking it up, trying to get some, which they were effective at, 20 turnovers. But what's interesting, and I know you were talking about the coaches in the hallway with the coaches about this, it wasn't really your guards or your primary ball handlers that had the turnovers in that game.
No, our post, and this is where you got to, we can get better at some things and give Sacramento State some credit. They really tried to take Alec Wintering out of the game. So they forced other people to handle, and Alec had to work for what he got. Sometimes I saw they were face guarding him, denying the ball. I said, be patient, and just sometimes you can just stand and rest a little bit and just sort of let the game come to you. I also said, but Sacramento State made other guys handles, and one of the main ones was Bryce. He did a great job, and they made our post handle a little bit. Our posts can be better, and we'll be better at what they did in finishing and some turnovers. I told the guys it was a great team win after the game, and I also said the turnovers were a team effort also. There wasn't one guy that you'd say, geez, he just was kicking it all over the place. It was really spread around, and we, that hasn't been who we are. We've been able to play fast and play up tempo, But I was glad that we weren't. Idaho State was our slowest tempo game of the year. They got us out of our rhythm. Sacramento State in the second half, there was a lot of dead balls, whether it was a foul or turnover, a lot of things. By them, they had some turnovers also. They turned it over a bunch, and we were taking it out of bounds, and they would set up their press, and we were it got us out of our rhythm and attacking mode, again, giving them some credit, but we were still able to play how we want to play, which is fast and get out and go. We rebounded the ball very well against Sacramento State, which hasn't been a strong suit necessarily for us, whereas, again, just juxtaposed to the Idaho State game was nice to see.
Reminder, fans can log on to portlandpilots.com/Ask Coach Rev throughout the year. Submit a question, Twitter, #AskCoachRev, or give us a call at 503-542-0910 here for the Portland Pilots Coaches Show back on campus at the Pilot House. You talk about balance of turnovers, and one of the other things that was interesting is the balance in rebounds against Sacramento State. I believe it was 8 players had 4 or 5 rebounds in that game, and over the course of both games, positive rebounding margin, out-rebounded Sac State 45-34, out-rebounded Idaho State 42-36. I know earlier in the year that was one area you wanted to improve on. Was that just a function of what do you attribute kind of that shift in this week?
Hopefully it was the renewed practice time. During that stretch, we weren't able to get back to basics and remind them, and the guys have been, cognizant of our weak rebounding shortcomings and been working at it. But we got back to the gym and we worked on it and talked about it, and just like we were able to do today, in practice when you don't have a game the next day, and get back to some basics. Which leads me to the fact that we're not exactly where we want to be. We're still up and down in some key areas like rebounding or turnovers, and we're still and unfortunately, a game like the Idaho State game is still possible to happen, and hopefully we learn from that. We learn from the week, and I think we ended on a very good note with the performance. And we've got we will be playing LMU 1 week from right now, and we've got to turn that corner and get these things taken care of. I think we're on our way.
Pace of play has been a interesting topic throughout the season in terms of number of possessions, playing at a higher speed, getting more shots. A question from Doug in Vancouver. During the Idaho State game, it seemed like the team's pace of play was slower. It got slowed down. And I think going into that game, was that a surprise? Did you expect Idaho State to slow you down? Was it the matchup zone? Or do you think that's just the way the game kind of progressed with both teams struggling in the first half?
It was a slow possession game for us, a low possession game for us, and I give Idaho State some credit. They were able to disrupt us, get us standing around, and get out of our game of pushing it. And that's one of the things we did against Sacramento State. Just having Alec be the one-man press breaker sometimes when they're committed to doing it, we're able to do. But and also, looking back at that, I don't give this much credence during the game, but for those that were there and saw it, I thank you to come and watch that, and I apologize for putting you through some of that. But there weren't a lot of folks there, and our guys were flat. Our guys were, just the reality of it. They sort of hit the wall, and it was hard to push the buttons to get them to go faster and to play faster and to play with the energy we needed. The best thing this team has done, the most consistent thing this team has done, is played with tremendous energy. We haven't always played well. But they've played with tremendous energy. Last Tuesday would be the exception. It just was. We were just a little bit flat, and and that's where the substitutions, we were putting guys in and trying to find some guy that was ready to have a night. And if you look back, it wasn't someone to come in and just spark us and give us a boost, and trying to rest Alec. Alec and Bryce trying to get them rest, and like you saw on Saturday, when Bryce is going like that and Alec's playing well, I'm going to play them as many minutes as I can. Bryce played 36, and substitution patterns are easier, but that was just energy defensively is what we were looking for.
And then looking at the stat sheet individually, Gabe Taylor, of course, kind of got it going offensively, specifically in the second half on Saturday. 17 points, career high for him, 5 rebounds. We've talked, throughout the various coaches shows and on pregame shows about the importance of that 4 position and getting production out of there. Not just scoring, but rebounding, activity, creating plays for others. Combined against Sac State, Gabe and Jarrell, those 2 primary 4 guys, combined for 25 points, 10 rebounds. That's pretty good production that you're looking for out of those 2.
Yeah, it's very good, and I think they're 4 for 8 from 3 combined. I think they had a good number assists, and were making plays. Gabe, they both were playing. Gabe had that and one on a drive from the high post. Jarrell had a couple drives. A couple didn't drop for him, but he was making the right play. They were running them off the 3-point line, and that we were moving the ball. We were moving the ball much better. We worked a lot on moving the ball, and they were switching handoffs, and because of Idaho State, we were better prepared for switching handoffs. Just don't do them as much. When you do them, know what you're looking for, and how to take advantage of a big little switch. And we did a better job of that. And the 4s are really key for us in that. And I think all of it sort of is linked together. And so all of a sudden our 4s are playing well, moving the ball. All of a sudden Al's able to drive, get to the free throw line, get a bunch of free throw opportunities. Our 5s, everyone gets the 5s, it's a thankless job when you're expected to shoot 100% because the shots they're taking are right by the rim. So anytime you miss, you sort of you hear this collective,
Does that hit close to home?
Yeah, no, it does. Well, I've missed shots where my hand's touching the rim, but their percentages, and you talk about by committee, you look at, Colin, Ray, and Phil and what they're getting done, and they're able to put together some numbers, and we like to smooth out. We like to have them shooting over 67, up in the 60%, not the 50-something% as a group. Sometimes Phil knocked down his free throws, did a great job, 4 for 4 from the free throw line. We're still not getting to the line as much. Jarrell's very capable of getting to the line and does a nice job for that. We need that. So the 4s are key, as we've talked about. Maybe number 1 key in terms of things that, because you kind of count on Al and Bryce. Maybe after that it's the number 1 thing, but it all sort of hinges together.
Lots to talk about this week. Upcoming Far West Classic, start of WCC play. We'll have a special guest, Corey Tilke, joining us to talk about his post-basketball career, looking to make a bid in the running game at the upcoming Olympic Games. So we'll have a lot more coming up. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveno on 910 ESPN Portland. Here's your host, Jason Bro.
Tickets for the upcoming Far West Classic this Friday and Saturday at the Moda Center are still available. Visit portlandpilots.com/Far West Classic for more information. And shortly after that, WCC schedule begins Monday and Wednesday at the Child Center. Kids free admission, all others 2-for-1 holiday pricing. Get your tickets now through all Ticketmaster outlets or by calling the Pilot Box office, 503-943-7525. Visit portlandpilots.com for more ticket information. And that's just seems like we're stacking up games after games with short breaks in between. An exciting December, a lot of games here in Portland, and Moda Center looking forward to it. But one of the other things we're looking forward to is bringing back some former pilots and talking to them, and an exciting one that we get to talk to. Our listeners might know him from the hardwood, but he's making a name for himself on the track. Corey Tilke, 4-year player for Coach Rev, and after your great basketball career, which ended with a couple big home victories over Gonzaga and BYU and a couple court stormings, tell us about what you've done since basketball ended.
As soon as basketball ended, a few weeks after the senior year, I actually started running track. My first year, I ran the 100 and the 200. I didn't run the 400 until my 5th year, and that was my first time ever in Boise, Idaho again, and I ran a 48.5 indoor, and after that race, I ran a decent time, and Coach Chad said that you're going to be a 400 runner.
Isn't it true that you thought the 400 was a little too long?
I did.
It's a long. That's like a mile for you. It's a long distance for you.
Yeah, way too long for me, especially coming as a sprinter in high school. I was just not about the 400.
Yeah, and you were an elite sprinter in high school, right? In the 100, 200, down in the state of California, coming out as Bakersfield. I imagine you had some opportunities to go track or basketball. How rewarding is it now to be at a point where you got to experience a college basketball career, have the highs of that, and now go on and potentially have a great professional career on the track?
It's very exciting to me. I did not think that I was going to have another chance to run track. I am definitely glad I do because I did miss it for a little bit. And I remember every time running 22s or suicides, Coach Rev and Coach Jackson would always say that, like, you're a sprinter, don't you? You remember track? You're good at track. She's supposed to be good at this.
You know, you were a very good athlete on the basketball court, a lot of dunks, a lot of exciting moments. Is there any specific moments you look back on your Pilot playing career on the hardwood that really stick out to you, or moments with the team, road trips, certain game, that you can kind of go back to as one of your fondest memories on the basketball court?
Yeah, it's a lot. Definitely remember the Gonzaga game, the dunk that we had, or that I had. And my New Mexico game.
I remember that one.
One of my favorite games. Yeah.
That was one of your breakout games. I think you had 4 steals, 4 block shots. Really erupted down in a tough environment at the pit. That was a lot of fun, big time. But I'm going to shift it over to Coach and let him talk a little bit about you and different recruiting process. And Corey, what did you guys see in Corey that you liked? Obviously athleticism, but coming out, and how proud are you to see what he's been able to do throughout his career here at UP?
Well, Corey offered an athleticism and an enthusiasm that we felt could be contagious for us, and we felt like, just from a development standpoint, the guy that would embrace our teaching of teaching things and exposing himself to how we wanted him to defend and get out and run, and even in the weight room, Corey was able to, with under Coach Scott, change his body. He's even done more so. If you see him around campus now, he's even done more late. How much have you gained recently since you stopped playing basketball?
16 pounds.
Yeah. How much do you weigh?
182 now.
182. And so, how much did you weigh when you walked on campus?
155.
But you gained weight pretty quickly, and he went from scrawny to skinny, and now he's kind of buffed. He looks like a track stud now, and so, so we had some great experiences, and Corey had some good memories, and to see him now have the success, a lot has been said about Corey, here at Portland, and his ability to take advantage of the opportunity, both basketball wise and academically. Corey's, the recruiting, out of Bakersfield, was he always recognized that it was a good opportunity for him. Things weren't always easy, and the thing about Corey was that he always recognized that this was good for him. I think I don't want to speak for him, but it seemed like he recognized that, like, it was hard, and so he worked hard and he took advantage of it. And I do think at the end of the day we offer some pretty good opportunities, and I'm proud of someone like Corey, who can really use it as frankly maybe a life-changing experience for him to come up here and take the advantage of it. And in typical Corey fashion, thinking outside the box and making the most of something, he's doing taking the track and everything. And I laugh about the 400 because he was telling me it's kind of long for him, and I'm like, because basketball guys hate running. And anytime they're up on the track with Coach Scott, they feel like it's like this stinks, and it's just the worst thing. They hate running. So, what is it? Tell us about what you have going on at Park Rose. I think that's been neat. Your involvement over there.
Yeah, because I went through the AVID program that they have at the school now. It's pretty much a design program to help get kids to college. Focus on keeping them on track with grades from freshman year to senior year. And when they get to the senior year, it's all about college applications, college everything. And so, because not every high school student knows about that.
Did you have someone like that? I mean, I remember meeting with your counselor and talking to them. And was she the one that helped you with that? Or
yeah, a few of my counselors did. Yeah, they did, because I honestly didn't know anything about college or anything like that. And then so they were definitely a great guidance for me. And so I used what they taught me to help pass it on to, like, the students at Park Rose.
And then Coach Wolf got a hold of you. Then Coach Wolf,
Yeah, he did.
He has all the information on everything. So.
I know.
Corey Tilkey paying it forward. We're going to bring you back for at least one more segment, Corey. We'll take a break right now. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show. Coach Reveneau, Corey Tilkey here at the Pilot House on campus. We'll be back after this short break on 910 ESPN Portland.
You're listening to Portland Pilots basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here again is Jason Bro.
Back here at the Pilot House on campus, portlandpilots.com/AskCoachRev. Ask Coach Rev. Use the hashtag on Twitter or give us a call at 503-542-0910. We've got a special guest, Corey Tilke, former pilot, played 4 years on the hardwood, and now making a push in the 400 meters, both indoor and outdoor. Trying to qualify for the Rio Olympics. And Corey, we've talked about your background as a player with the Pilots, now working with the AVID program at Park Rose. Track's kind of your life, though, right now, isn't it? You've really kind of invested. You're working with Coach Chad Caldwell to really make a push for the Summer Olympics.
I am, yeah. This is going into my second year training. It's definitely more intense and more consistent than last year. I know a lot more about the sport this year than I did. So I'm definitely looking forward to what I can do in the next year.
And you made such great progress last year, earning third-team All-America honors. And it just seemed like, take us through like the progression of how much you were able to shave off your times in the outdoor season and how that's given you confidence going into this indoor season.
Yeah, it took a while actually, because even Coach Chad would have said I had a few months of good training, and once I actually did understand and learn how to run the race semi, so I ran a 47.2, broke the school record, and that was in lane 4 down in that was actually in lane 9 down at Mount Sac in LA. And when I ran that, I was like, if I can do this at a lane 9, give me a good lane 4, I can run a little faster. And then the next day,
that was my problem with my career too. Always in the outside lane. If they ever gave me a good lane, I would have been good.
Yeah, so I spent most of my year in lane 8, lane 9, but I definitely took advantage of it. I wasn't like intimidated or anything. And the next day, I ran a 46.6, and that qualified me for the regionals. At the moment, I didn't know what regionals were, but I was definitely excited to advance and flow down to Texas and run. And it was 2 rounds, so it was 48 runners, and the top 24 advanced and go to nationals. And so I raced. I had lane 9, and I finished 3rd, which qualified me for the next round. And I ran a 46.61 at the end of that, and went on to I didn't know I was upset about the race, and Coach Chad, right after, was like, You went on to nationals. You're top 12 of the nation. So
I was talking to Chad about that time, and he was trying to explain to me the timing of that, like how the different heats and stuff. So he says, like, I forget, but it was like what your qualifying time was. So you're getting an education. I had no idea.
No,
he's telling me, so I'm checking the times online. I'm saying, wait a second. He said, I forget now, but like the top so and so. So I'm checking the other times, and I said, no, he's got it.
Yeah, it was top 2 from each heat, and then the next top 6.
That's what it was. So
Based
you were
on
third.
times,
You were
yep.
third. You were third.
Yeah,
so I'm like, oh, and then but no, it's the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And then now this year, you had a big race this weekend in Boise. How'd it go?
Yeah, it was a good start to this season. I ran 47.9. It was a half a second faster than my last year's time. It's definitely harder on the indoor bank track because it's 200 meters and it's 2 laps. And the curves are really sharp, especially for a runner like me with longer strides. I got to shorten them down in order so I don't run all the way off the track on the curve. But just my physical fitness this year is 100 times better than I was last year, lifting-wise, cardio, everything, because I came through 300 meters at 33.9, and that was faster than I'd ever ran last year. But I broke down mentally a little bit, but I just know it wasn't anything physical, so I know that I can run faster in the next race.
47.9, the qualifying time you're looking to get is 47.4, right?
Yeah,
so you got about a half second to shave off
0.5
on the
seconds.
Indoors, and that's before March when they come to the indoor championships are being held right here in Portland, correct?
Yes, the U.S. Indoor Championships are March 11th, and then the March 18th and 19th are the Indoor World Championships. And so the Indoor World Championships, the qualifying mark is 46.7, But
one step at a time.
That's what it is. Yeah, because you can't just go out there and be like, I'm gonna go to the championships. No, it's a process. You got each race you're gonna get faster, and you gotta learn, get better from the last race.
One of the things that's a reality of especially newer entrance in the track and field world is you got to raise money to be able to support your dreams. So we have some links, and we'll put it out on Twitter as well. GoFundMe.com/CoreyT21, KOREYT21. The goal is to raise $6,500. You got almost $2,000 right now. What's that going to help you do, raising that money?
That is going to help pay for flights down to California when we fly, down to compete in Canada in July. That's going to help for nutrition and gear, just to take advantage of all the support and everybody else helping me out.
And Corey, making your own way. A lot of we hear about the big sponsored runners and everything. This is a pretty remarkable story where you've been able to get to so far. So we'll again continue to promote this and hope to raise a few more bucks for you.
And I would urge people to go on and do it now and not jump on the bandwagon later, because you're going to look good.
They can show when you've submitted.
Get in there now, and if you want to invest in a young man who, I'm telling you, has proven he'll take advantage of every opportunity given to him, and he'll make the most of it. And so I urge people to go on there and donate a little bit, and even a small amount, a big amount, just something to show support. I think it's really neat that the people that have come on and donated and shown the support for Corey, it's pilot strong in my mind, and I think that's great.
Absolutely. There's some information on there about your journey, what you got going on, what you have coming up, and already seeing the donations. A lot of familiar names on there, people that you've had the opportunity to work with that really are rooting for you, and we wish you the best as well. We'll continue to try to raise money. Again, visit twitter.com/Portland Pilots for the website, GoFundMe.com/KOREYT and the number 21. Help support Corey Tilke on his quest to try to make it to Rio this summer. It's going to be fun to watch you, and hopefully we get to see you competing here in Portland.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited.
All right. Thank you, Corey. Thanks for joining us. Again, visit PortlandPilots.com. We'll have more information about that. We'll come back. We'll talk more with Coach Reveneau about the upcoming Far West Classic, WCC openers. Busy week for Pilot Athletics here in the next week. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here's your host, Jason Bro.
Here at the Pilot House on the University of Portland campus. Again, a thank you to Corey Tilke, who joined us for the last couple segments. We'll be putting some information up on PortlandPilots.com right now. You can go visit Portland Pilots on Twitter and get the information about Corey's GoFundMe account, really trying to help him push for his dreams to qualify for the 400, either indoor or outdoor, at the upcoming Rio Olympics. So good luck to Corey as we go forward. And shifting back now to basketball, Coach, a lot of games coming up. You just finished kind of a pretty extreme stretch in early December. What are some areas that you guys have really tried to key in and focus on here during this little break that you got?
I think when we talked about the Sacramento State game, we talked about playing our tempo. And we mentioned that, I think, in the earlier segment, making sure that teams can't just take us out of what we want to do so easily. Talked about rebounding the ball. I'm sort of I have the belief that we're going to have to do team rebounding like we did against Sacramento State, where it's a team effort. You don't have the big number guy that gets 12 rebounds for you without you really looking, and it's got to be a team effort. And then those things we're working on, defending different actions we worked on today. And then, there's situations. There's, you take the end of the Idaho State game, where, I think we were organized, but we didn't execute. You don't want to, we go up on the free throws, and we call timeout to set our defense. We discussed what we're going to do with the on ball they're about to run, and we discussed it and got to it, and then the execution of what we did in terms of switching and keeping the ball in front. They got interior a little bit, and then we just didn't block off. And learning about the lineups, we left them with a small lineup on the floor, and they put Bryce and Jason were on the wings defending shooters, and you got Jazz, Alec, and Gabe battling for the board. And that was, so they could have done a better job blocking off, but we should have, get another rebounder on the floor, but they were going small and attacking us, so it was a trade-off there. And we'll work on things like that. And then you get the score with 7 seconds. They score with 7 seconds left. We're going to push it back at them. Even if we had a timeout, we want to attack them before their defensive set. And I felt bad for Jazz that he got the ball, and then, you know, as he's apt to do, once it's in his hands, it's hard to get it out sometimes. Yeah. You know, he holds on to it, and so we had to talk about those situations. And those are the kinds of things we're working on that I feel like we're not where we'd like to be because of some new guys and the games and stuff. But the games, I will say this about the games, they've been good in that we're learning a lot more about ourselves than we might have. When we got to this stretch of games, we needed the games, and now I think we have a little bit of time here to sort of collect our breath and work on the things we're talking about.
You mentioned Jazz, you know, just trying to make a play in that situation. Does Alec need to be a little more assertive in that situation in terms of going and getting the ball?
The inbounder needs to make that choice for him, you know, and Alec and Bryce, you know, and we hadn't worked on it, you know, and so enough with that lineup, you know, so I made the decision to go with that lineup because I liked some things it gave us, and it's on me for not having worked on that lineup. So yes, Alec Wintering or Bryce Presley needs to have the ball. We saw it in Southern Illinois when Bryce had the ball and got a good shot, you know, and that happens, and you're like, okay, well, Bryce had a shot, and it didn't work, but it was a good shot, and you can live with it. And we got a good rebound off of it, good action, you know. But then that was a possession where Alec didn't touch it, you know, and Alec's our best creator, no knock on Bryce, but those are the kinds of things, the matchup stuff that we've worked on some, and we've got it. Again, I said we were organized, but didn't, you know, the right guy took it. We just didn't execute it as well as we needed to.
A lot of moving pieces this week as you're preparing for 4 games in 6 days, and some of that is finals week. What's, you know, another question from Doug is, how does that affect practice this week? How do you prepare? How do you use this time and balance all of that as you prepare for this tough, very important stretch in the season?
I personally tell them to blow off school. You know, I say.
Hopefully the boss isn't listening.
I say, look, you know, come on, it's school, for crying out loud. No, I say what I've been telling them, and I'm kidding aside. In all seriousness, I've been telling them we need to prepare for this since October. And I've been talking about December being a really critical month for us and a challenging month. Be on top of your work. At study hall in November, Kramer and I were talking about it. So we've been talking about it. So there is some level of how prepared you are for this week. The message in this week, 2 things. One, tell them to take care of themselves, get their rest, study, you know, as much as you can, and do the best you can. Try not to stress. If you need help academically with a tutor or something, hopefully it's been taken care of by now, but you can speak up if you need support. And then the second thing is practices. I was watching film on Sac State, and I want to have them sit and watch film, and I want to do this and want to do that. They don't have the mind space right now to do it. What you can do, and I've learned this over the years of coaching during finals, you just need to get out and sweat. So you get up and practice. Guys can always get shots up. Guys can always compete a little bit. You'll find guys that are a little punchy and a little tired, but they don't mind competing, and playing basketball is a nice break. So we practice today. We're off tomorrow, our NCAA off day. We're off tomorrow. We practice on practice Wednesday, and then we finish up finals. Got 2 finals on Thursday, practice Thursday. So just trying to get some good work in, get a good sweat, compete, scrimmage a little bit, work on the things we're talking about, but not overwhelm them with a drill that requires them to really just, you know, think too much or be over focused or is too monotonous for them. Kind of meet them more than halfway this week for sure.
Go to the phone lines. We've got Pedro in Southern California. Pedro, what do you got for Coach Rev?
Hey, Jason, Coach. Good evening, you guys. How's it going up there tonight?
It's great up here. We avoiding the rain today, so it's been a nice day. How you doing?
We're good. Finally got winter down in Southern California. Coach, that was a real nice win to see Saturday night. It was kind of like a 12-round fight, though. You know, started good, had some ups and downs in it, but what I really liked was through all some mistakes, he got them done with. But you know, the guy showed some good poise at the end to pull away and win it at the end.
Yeah, no, it was definitely good. I think when we play with that kind of energy, we're a very good basketball team. I think, we're not a mistake-free basketball team, and that's what we're always striving for. Coach Katz at the end is a very good coach, was very complimentary. He put it in a nutshell, probably what a lot of the fans like yourself were thinking. He shook my hand. He said, "Great job. You were a completely different team than 3 nights ago." and then he said, "And I don't want to play you anymore." And I said, "I don't want to play you." They're tough, well coached, and it's to be honest, it's a little bit preparing for a well coached team is a little bit. It's good because you know what they're going to do, and we had prepared and knew what they were going to do, and to prepare for a team that's struggling and finding its identity can be hard sometimes. But that's you're right. The game was up and down in 12-round fight, and some of them I give them credit for, and some were self-inflicted. Momentum losses where we could have really separated, but it was a good game.
Oh, that's great. You know what really impressed me early on through the game, you just had outstanding perimeter defense. You're out there challenging their three-point shooters, and the result was they were missing. We were getting some rebounds. So rebounding, and don't forget going to the free throw line. That was great. I've never seen the Pilots in the years I've been watching you go to the free throw line that often in the game.
Yeah, no, and that was they were being very aggressive on Alec, and they were up denying him, and when he did get a catch, the guys right on him, and we've really worked. We're giving Alec a lot of freedom to make decisions. If you're going to try to, we're going to let Alec break double teams, make plays, let him play, get the floor spread for him. Defensively, you raised 2 great points because we played zone a lot of the game, and we defended the 3 well because we knew their actions, we were prepared for their actions, and I felt like we got to shooters. And so that was, Boise State, we played the zone that opened up the game. We opened up the game and did very well, but they missed some shots, whereas I think you are correct that Sacramento State wasn't getting good looks. And the advantage for us when we do that is our big guys are around the basket and we get good rebound coverage. So it's a good observation.
No, thanks. It was a great night of basketball. I was streaming your broadcast, and I was turning around watching UCLA beat Gonzaga, so it was a great night. You guys are about a week and a half away from conference. So how do you feel about the team going into conference?
It's actually a week. It's a week from tonight.
A week. Yikes.
It's a week. We've got 4 games in 6 days, I moved my sleeping bag and some things into the office. The good news about the schedule is it's all in Portland. We're at the Moda Center Friday and Saturday. It's going to be a great opportunity, exciting stuff. And if we manage it right, we're prepared well from a scouting perspective. I think we'll be fine. And with the start of the league, LMU, you start with them. You start peeking ahead, and we're doing this because I have all 4 teams on the whiteboard in my office, and we're sort of figuring out the stuff we can work on the next couple days to prepare for all of them and get ourselves shored up. But LMU lost to Boise State by 1 at their place, lost to Oregon State by 7 or 8 at Oregon State, lost to Colorado State by 8 or 9. They're just a basketball team. I'm forgetting one more. They got beat up pretty good by UC Irvine, but they're just they haven't lost to anyone that they shouldn't have lost to, and they've played everyone close. They've got a new point guard that's really evidently, I haven't looked at a lot of them, but he's really dynamic and helps them out a lot.
Well, I'm going to have to go scout them for you, and I wish you guys the best this weekend in the tournament and going into conference. And before you know it, we'll be up there in February rooting for you. So thanks for having me on.
Good.
Thanks, Pedro. Happy holidays. If we don't talk to you before, then we got to take a quick break.
Same to you and Coach. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Pedro. When we come back, we'll get to Ed and Camus. Hang on, Ed. We'll get to you
Hold tight,
shortly.
Ed. I said let's talk to him now. He said no, let's go break. He'll wait.
He's been overridden.
Sorry.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have Ed from Camus. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here again is Jason Breaux.
Reminder that listeners throughout the week can submit questions on portlandpilots.com/AskCoachRev. Use Twitter hashtag AskCoachRev or give us a call at 503-542-0910. And we head back to the phone lines now with Ed from Camus. Ed, good evening. What you got for us?
Coach, Coach, two questions. One is, which one of your assistants is going to take credit for Phil shooting pretty good from the foul line against Sac State?
Great question. I'm trying to figure out a way I could weasel into the credit, but I'll give it to Coach Pfaff, and I'll give it to Pilot alum Eric Spolstra, because Coach Pfaff, we had Rob Fodor was a shooting coach and player movement coach come visit us in the fall, and I also thank all the people that pay for the give to the Pilot Club and whatnot, because we were able to basically go on this recommendation and hire Coach Fodor with some professional development funds and use it for some coach education, and a lot of the stuff that he teaches is really basic stuff, but the language he uses, the body movement stuff, he looked at a lot of different things. Alec, one of the things we're looking at was Alec Wintering's finishing around the basket. And by rule, he can't work with the players, but he can work with the coaches. And so we had this sort of professional development sessions, and Coach Pfaff took the lead on it, and then worked with Phil. And Phil, to Phil's credit, he really took to working on it and changing his free throw. So it was really good. So no, I was glad, and they're still working on some other things. Like I say, Alec Wintering's free throw, Alec Wynn's finishing, and some things, and the guys are bought into it. And there's some teaching and talking points for each of them.
Oh, great. Hey, Coach, the other question, I don't know if I missed it. Could you talk a little bit about your selection of Rashid Jackson to start on Saturday, and a little bit about that process?
Yeah, so it wasn't, the reality was, so coming off the Idaho State game, I felt like some of the substitutions may have destabilized us versus stabilizing us, and I felt like we had gotten situations where we were chasing on that game. We were sort of chasing a good group and chasing things, and things weren't clicking. So I was determined on Saturday to try to get some lineups that would work well together, and that were the right matchups. And I felt like, Max would be the other one. He stabilizes, but all of a sudden you put Max on the floor with Alec and Bryce, then it's a good starting lineup, a very good one. But then you come off the bench, and if you're not careful, and fouls and fatigue and timeouts, all of a sudden you could end up with a lineup of Jazz, DeMarcus, and Rashad on the perimeter, and that's not a stabilizing lineup. That's a little bit, so we get some veterans with some young guys. So I wanted to put Rashad in a situation where he could play with some veterans and have some success. And it was probably mostly coincidence that he got the first 3 rebounds of the game, defensive rebounds of the game, but it was a good start for him. And so, as it comes to starting lineups, as a coach, we always say it doesn't really matter, it doesn't matter. But then we act so protective of it. We don't change it. We don't. And so we keep sending the message that it is really important. It's not. And so so I'm aware of that. And this was a move where I really didn't think it was necessarily, to be honest, our best lineup right now, but a lineup that would help us grow and prepare us for later in the game.
Coach, one other quick question is, recently you've played both Alex and Jazz at the same time.
Yeah.
That's, I think, fairly new in the last couple of games.
Yeah, it's been something we've been working on, and a lot of it has to do with Jazz's understanding. Alec can move around, in a lot of different situations, and trying that Jazz being such a scorer mentality that it's not really sometimes a point guard mentality. He's improving at that. And then defensively, he can do something. He can guard a quick ball handler. So Jazz is actually a pretty good on-ball defender, and he's a much improved off-ball defender. Off-ball defense requires understanding of how not to get screened, anticipation, seeing both the ball and your man, whereas on-ball is what a high school player a guy coming straight from high school might be better at adapting to, because it's just guard your guy with the ball. So Rashad's a very good on-ball defender, improving as an off-ball defender. In turn, DeMarcus was not a very good defender in some different ways, but has improved. Jazz is pretty good on the ball, and if you put Jazz on, if you only have Alec on the floor and you got some big wings, then all of a sudden Al's got to have the task. We put him with Jazz, he can do it. And so he can rest, and Jazz can guard the guy with the ball. And so trying some things like that. Also, trying to, as we did in the Idaho State game, trying to find lineups that can score. When our shot's not falling, we end up going small. Can create some problems for some people. When you put Jazz off the ball, all of a sudden, if you got Jazz and Alec both on the floor, you got to put your best on-ball defender on one of them, and the second one on. So you're gonna put the second one on Jazz, and Jazz can look pretty good against a secondary defender. So it's a little bit of what I was talking about. Is we're reacting to them too much at that point, maybe, and I don't know. I don't think we're there yet where that could be a style that we can dictate with anybody. But it's one to be well prepared for. It's one that's worth looking at, and that's what we've been doing.
Okay, great, Coach. Thanks a lot, and good luck to Far West.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed. We'll see you over at the Moda Center. We'll take our final break. When we come back, we'll preview the Far West Classic and the West Coast Conference home openers coming up this next week. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here's your host, Jason Bro.
Coach, we have time to briefly preview something that's really exciting, especially for Northwest basketball fans like myself who grew up here in the Northwest, remember coming and watching the Far West Classic, and so many of the Pacific Northwest teams have participated in it over the years. Just talk about the fact that now it's being brought back, Portland along with Oregon State co-hosting it at the Moda Center, looking to continue it not just this year but in the future. Why is this such a good event?
It's fantastic. It's got a history that people, like you say, in Portland and even the Northwest, like you say, have great memories of. When Scott Lakem, our athletic director, and the athletic director at Oregon State decided, thought this would be a good idea, and they pushed it forward and talked to the coaches. I thought it would be a great idea. Something this year is hard for us to do it because league starting before. But it's such a great event. Guys are really excited about being able to play in the Moda Center. Good quality basketball. It's just, I think, to answer your question, I think it's because of its history and because of the intention with the schools involved to really make a good college basketball event here in Portland. And, it's not easy this day and age with scheduling challenges and everyone different opportunities and weighing it. But the intention to really have something in the Moda Center that college basketball fans can get excited about around Christmas time is really good, and we're working on next year and hope to have another great event. But this event this weekend is going to be great.
And I think there's a lot of questions about how it would be received, and the early indications are good. I know, they're going to make available about 10,500 seats, and we've heard that almost 9,000 tickets are already sold, so expecting Friday and Saturday doubleheaders with the Pilots playing the 5:30 game, Oregon State playing the 8 p.m. games, and some good competition. Weber State's a very good basketball program that has been a consistently good basketball program, and they're going to be a tough test.
They're a very tough test. So look at them. They've got two very good players, a perimeter player, number 30, who shoots the lights out, and I'm blanking on his name, Stinger, I forget his name. My scouting reports are beyond the numbers. I got 4 games I'm getting ready for.
Watch out for 30. Get a hand in 30 space.
And 21's probably the best post player we've played, and he's really a very good low post player. So they got good players. They're really well coached. Randy Ray comes out of the Stu Morrill, Utah State line of coaches, which goes back to Montana, and their execution is really good, and so Ed, from Camas, and you guys talking about pace of play and rotations, all that stuff applies because they're going to play a certain way, very much try to dictate their style of play. It'll be about us playing the way we want to play, but it's going to have to start with us defending and getting the ball and going, but they run really good actions, and we've got to try to disrupt them.
Then Saturday, Cal State Fullerton, and then, as we mentioned, quick turnaround, LMU Monday night, Pepperdine Wednesday night. And stealing another question from Doug, he says coaches always talk about one game at a time. You don't look past this one. But when you have 4 games in 6 days and you transition into conference play, which is essentially a second season and takes a lot of priority, does that affect anything you do in terms of preparation, maybe how you manage substitutions, or do you take it Friday first, Saturday second, Monday third?
When the ball goes up, we're playing to win, and do I, if there's if I get the opportunity because we're up a little bit to rest someone, then maybe then it comes into mind. But we're playing to win each night, and so it doesn't play in them. Where it plays into it, to be honest, is right now. What are we going to do Wednesday's practice? What do we do today's practice that can really help us in all 4 games and everything? And the funny thing is, you ask that question, and the answer, what's great about it from a coaching perspective is I realized is really about the Pilots. What can we do to be better for those 4 games? We got to focus on ourselves.
Reminder, tickets for the upcoming Far West Classic are still available. Visit portlandpilots.com/Far West Classic. Or WCC schedule. If you want to come out to the Child Center, great chance to bring the kids. Monday and Wednesday, kids 6th grade and younger will receive free admissions. We'll have 2-for-1 holiday pricing for those games. 6 p.m. start on Monday, 6 p.m. start on Wednesday. Both games will be televised. Visit portlandpilots.com for ticket information or give us a call at 503-943-7525. Again, a thanks to Corey Tilke for swinging by and talking about his dreams of going on and competing in the Olympics this summer in the 400-meter. Thanks to Coach Reveneau, and thanks to all of our listeners. Happy holidays. We'll be off next week. It'll be a game Monday night, so we won't have a coach's show next week, but we'll be back in early January. Thanks to Jesse Osman in studio and Jose Navarez for producing. You've been listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
This has been Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau. Tonight's show was brought to you by Employee-Owned by Mart, by your local Les Schwab Tire Center, the Oregon College Savings Plan, by Buffalo Wild Wings, U.S. Bank, by Safeway, and by Play Smart Health Screenings from Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. Join us for University of Portland basketball all season long on the home of the Pilots, 910 ESPN Portland.